Freeza with accessories, Dragonball with a Freeza. Hey, how's it going everyone? We're here with the very first release for February 2022, and that is Freeza for Form. Now, this is essentially a straight re-release of the Resurrection F Freeza we got a few years ago, and that in itself is basically a re-release of the Freeza we had in 2013, so this is the third time we've had this Freeza in a slightly different version. But yeah, let's just jump straight into this version that we have here, Freeza for Form. He has a retail release in Japan, so that's why we don't have that Tamashii web exclusive logo on here. And being from the Freeza Saga this time, we do have the Dragon Ball Z logo compared to Dragon Ball Super last time. The box does have a lovely pastel purple colour, which is really nice. But if we swing around to the back here, we have a nice selection of poses and the accessories that he does come with, which, well, basically just for one Dragon Ball actually. So yeah, that covers the box, so let's pop him out and get a closer look. Okay, so we've got him here in its clan packaging, and Freeza himself on the left, along with his halo, which is a weird accessory to put in, but considering this is just a straight re-release of the previous one, I guess they figured why not, since this head does have the hole for the halo. Moving over to the other side, we do have two additional heads, so the teeth gritting and then the open mouth shouting one. And again, these are exactly the same as the previous version, though with some more, I guess, subtle detailing, which the previous one did not have. Moving down, we've got the hands, got the open spread finger ones, we've got the kind of closed finger gap, kind of flat hand. What would you even call that? Let me know below. I can't really think of a good way to explain these hands. Open, but not spread fingered hand, something like that. Anyway, moving down, we've got the folded arms attachment. We've got the one finger sticking out, kind of for him to do his muhaha type of a pose. And then we've got the one finger sticking out for his Death Beam Ki Blast, which he does not come with, unlike his previous version, which did. And then moving down, we do have his additional feet, and then the main, I guess, reason why you'd buy this figure if you have the other one, and that is for the, what was it, for 5-star summoned Namek Dragon Ball, which is really cool. Oh, can't remember if I mentioned, but we do have the one single tail there as well. So yeah, that covers everything that comes in the box, no stand or anything like that. So let's just pop him out of his packaging and get a close look at that finish. Okay, so we've got Freeza here spinning on the turntable. I do apologise for the weird pose, but if you own any of the previous Freeza figures, you'll kind of understand why. He's a little bit of a pain to stand up straight, especially when he's moving. But going over the actual finish for this figure, I think he looks really nice. The purple is the same colour as the previous release. I think that's a really nice kind of deep dark metallic purple. And then his body has some nice weathering as well. They're kind of slight turquoisey blue-green weathering, and then the plaster itself is a different colour to the original. This one has a more, I think, slightly grey tone to the plastic, so maybe they dyed it compared to the original. But we'll have a quick comparison of the two towards the end of this video. If that is something that you are interested in, be sure to check that out. So yeah, besides that, the only other real difference is the panel lining and the extra detailing on his eyebrows up here. But yeah, that looks really nice, but we'll get a closer look at that when we check out each of the individual heads after the articulation, which we can do now. Okay, so as usual, we'll start from the top of the figure and work our way down. He has kind of a slight head tilt. I think to get it working, I guess, better, you'd have to adjust the peg position. But he can go forward really well, and same with back. So if you want a real big extreme head tilt, you'll be best to pop the head off and swivel the peg around a bit more. Now for his shoulders, again, just like the original figure, pretty nice actually. There's nothing really there to hinder the movement. You can actually see the joint at the very top of the shoulder there. So this will swivel all the way around, and then you go all the way up. So that is pretty nice. Be kind of nice if they do an updated version of this body to give you a bit more of a range in the front there, because it does slightly hinder it, but since he's such a slim figure anyway, nothing really hinders his articulation too much in that area. His elbow joint's pretty good as well. He can get all the way around, and then he has a, well, same as just about every other figure for the wrist. Moving down to the chest now, he does have his armor flap here, which will move up and down slightly, so that helps when you kind of want to bend him forward on that main chest point, and then you can kind of fold this in as well, and it covers up that gap. So you can move back a little bit, but the underneath here they will open up quite a bit, so depending on the pose you want to go for, it may be a little bit ugly, but he does have a decent range of articulation, and then same for his lower hip section here, that allows him to move forward pretty well. And again, for left and right, everything will twist and move around pretty nicely. For a really old figure, I mean, his original version came in 2013, so he holds up pretty well. So I can kind of see why they keep using this mold for at least the top half. It does give him nice range of articulation still. Moving down to the hips though, this is the real old style design there. It does kind of hinder the movement a bit for the legs going out. But as I said earlier, he does move around quite nicely with his top half. It's just the bottom area where things start getting limited. His legs will swivel slightly, but there isn't too much room for movement there. And I mean, he can somewhat do the splits. It's not too bad, but you can't really go back at all due to his kind of tail section there, which kind of hinders his leg a fair bit. Going forward isn't too bad, but again the muscles kind of stop it, and then I mean everything's just kind of ugly in this area unless you have it in a pretty basic vanilla pose. If we swing around to his tail, this slops in and out of that one joint, and his tail has the one point of articulation, which can go back and forward, and you can just swivel around as well. Going down to his knees, yeah, I mean it's pretty decent range of articulation there as well, and same for his feet. They have a really nice big ball joint there, because you can pop the feet on and off for the kind of clawing style ones that he comes with. Okay, let's check out the faces. So this is the one that comes attached to his body. It's just a slight smirking face he has, but the new detail, you can see just above his eyebrows there is the kind of thin lines. I mean everything there looks really nice, and I think the lines underneath his eyes and the actual highlights around his eye as well are slightly finer compared to the previous release. The second head here looks really nice. You've got the thin line for his teeth, and again the extra highlighting and detailing between his eyes. His third face here is really nice. I like the extra detailing above his nose just to really bring in that kind of squinting his face, absolutely shouting angry look. And again you have the veins popping off to the side of his head, which I think look really good on this head. This is one of the good things about the newer version here, is that all these extra details really helps bring through the emotion from the character. So it is really nice to see. For you Dragonballz super fans, the base head does come with the halo slot on the head, so you can put this on if you want to kind of recreate some of those super scenes. So we've got the summoned Dragon Ball here, so the 5-star one. Yeah, I think it's a really nice kind of pearlescent orange colour that they have. So I'm really looking forward to getting all these Dragon Balls and putting them together with a potential Purunga. So as you saw earlier, Freeza does come with additional feet. So to put those on, you just have to grab them by the lower leg and just pull those feet off. Then you can take the new one and just slot it on. Pretty easy to change and quite effective, so you get the nice kind of clawing, bending toe look. So it's pretty cool if you kind of put him on a stand in a dynamic kind of a kicking or grabbing pose. Okay, so we've got the Saiyan Rays on Goku here, along with the new Freeza for a size comparison. And yeah, so if you've got the previous, any one of the two versions of this Freeza which has come out, you'll be familiar with the size pairing. I think it works pretty well. I mean, Goku is definitely a lot taller than Freeza in the manga and show, and that is represented pretty well with these two figures. Okay, so I've got the previous Freeza here, so let's get him out and have a closer look next to the new one. So as you just saw, the original Freeza comes with quite a few more accessories. If you want to find out more about that, you can check out his reference page on rockchala.com, which you can get via the link below. But as we have these two spinning around, you can definitely see a clear difference in the colouring, especially in the tail areas which don't really have a weathering. The previous one has a really nice white colour, whereas the new one does have that kind of greyish blue tint to the plastic itself, and just with the weathering just really comes through as a lot darker blue colour. Whereas the original one does come through as a lot more white with just those slight areas, with the weathering coming through as the blue colour. I think it's going to be a personal preference for which one of the colours you prefer. I think overall I do like the more white colour of the previous release. I also love a really long tail that the previous release came with, which unfortunately the new one does not have. And while the parts on the other one will fit on the new one and vice versa, due to the difference in colouring and weathering, it will kind of look a little bit weird. But I think the previous release still holds it really well. The faces look amazing, you just don't have that extra detailing on there. And again, I think that's going to be a bit of a personal preference, which one you prefer in terms of the faces. But yeah, definitely let me know in the comments below which one of these two figures you prefer. The darker, kind of more grey blue colour for the new one, or the white for the previous. And again, with the faces, do you like it with the extra detailing or not? So that brings us to our pros and cons for this release. Pros: Freeza, Namek Saga. You can't go wrong with that. The colouring is going to be a big pro for a lot of people who prefer this kind of darker blue colouring. The Dragonballz that it comes with, that's a huge pro. To be honest, that's the reason why I bought this figure. I bought it for the Dragonballz, and I got a figure as an accessory, essentially, is the way I see it. Another pro is the price. I think 3,850 yen is the base retail price, though you can probably get it for about 3,500, maybe even 3,000 in shops. I'm guessing it's going to be pretty cheap, which is really nice, and it's great to pair up with the Sanrays on Earth Goku, who did get a re-release a few months ago. Now jumping into the cons, I mean, this is the third time we've had this same Freeza released. The first time it came with a rock and a unique face sculpt, which I think would have been awesome if they released this time. Since it's more of a Freeza version than the previous one, which is super. It's kind of some weird choices there, I reckon. But yeah, the other cons, I mean, I guess it was a pro before, but the blue and dark colouring can also be a con depending on which one you prefer. I'm kind of on the fence. I mean, both are nice. I think they both look good in a collection regardless. And yeah, the other main con is the accessories. No key blasts. I mean, yeah, it would have been great to at least get one of them. And same with the other tail. I mean, it is a budget release of the previous version, so it's fantastic if you don't have this figure at all, so it gives you a cheap access to it. But in that case, it would also be nice to have those accessories too. Even if they bumped up the price by an extra 500 yen to maybe give us the extra tail, which he kind of needs to stand up. He's quite fiddly due to that weight distribution, but you kind of angle him on a slight angle, bend his tail up, and you can get him standing. So he's standing up pretty well now, but it kind of does depend on the pose. The original one did come with a stand, which this one is lacking. Again, it would have been nice to get that and some other accessories. But yeah, I mean, overall, can't really complain too much. It's a good budget release, which a lot of people will be thankful for, since his previous version was getting slightly expensive on the aftermarket. But yeah, that basically wraps up this video. There's some photos of this new version at the end of the video, so be sure to check that out. I'll also be posting them up on Instagram as well, and on rockchala.com you can find 360 images, as well as the images from the end of this video. But yeah, thank you very much for watching. Let me know in the comments below what you think about this release and who else you're looking forward to getting this year. Personally, aimed for Dodoria at the end of this month, followed by Zarbon. So yeah, keep an eye out for those reviews once they release in Japan. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Cheers!